I have watched people destroy the only life they were given with the same 7 habits for over a century, and I want to tell you about them with the directness that 104 years earns and that I intend to use without apology because the time for the softened version passed for me decades ago, and the time for it may be passing for you sooner than you understand. My name is Beatrice. I am 104 years old, and I want to give you the honest account of what I have observed across a century of watching human beings live and what I believe is costing most of them the most. Not in the dramatic and obvious ways that are easy to identify and easy to name, but in the quiet and habitual and entirely avoidable ways that accumulate across the years of a life until the accumulation has produced consequences that the person producing them did not intend and cannot easily reverse. I was born in 1920 in rural Louisiana, the fourth of 7 children, into a world that required of the people living in it a quality of daily engagement with the actual conditions of existence that the current world, with its remarkable abundance of mechanisms for the avoidance of discomfort and difficulty, does not require in the same way. And I believe that the requiring of the engagement produced in the people I grew up among a clarity about what mattered and what did not, that the avoidance of the engagement makes more difficult to develop and to maintain. I have been paying attention for 104 years. What I have to tell you comes from the paying of that attention and from nothing else, and I offer it as the honest testimony of a very old woman who has seen enough to know what she is talking about and who has enough time remaining only for the direct version. The first habit is the postponement of the genuine life in favor of the preparation for it. I have described this in other conversations, and I want to name it first here because I believe it is the foundational habit, the one from which many of the others derive their energy, the habit of treating the present moment as the approach to the real thing rather than as the real thing itself. I have watched people spend entire lives in the approach and arrive at the end of those lives having approached beautifully and lived barely, and the waste of it is the waste I find most heartbreaking because the genuine life was available the entire time and required nothing for its availability except the willingness to stop approaching and start receiving. The people who do this are not lazy or foolish. They are frequently the most industrious and the most thoughtful people I have known, the people who understand the importance of preparation and who apply that understanding so comprehensively that the preparation becomes the life rather than the servant of it. Stop preparing and start living. The preparation that is preventing the living is not serving the life it is supposedly preparing for. The second habit is the maintenance of relationships that have been draining you for years, past the point where honest examination would have ended them. I want to say this one carefully because I think the careful saying of it is more useful than the easy version, which presents the ending of draining relationships as a simple act of self-preservation that reasonable people should perform without difficulty. The difficulty is real, and I am not dismissing it. What I am saying is that the difficulty of ending a draining relationship is consistently less than the cost of maintaining it across the years that the maintenance requires, and that the honest accounting of that comparison is what the habit is preventing you from making. I have watched people give decades to relationships that were taking more than they were giving, relationships that were organized around the comfort of one person at the consistent expense of another. And I have watched the person paying the expense arrive at the end of those years depleted in ways that the relationship had been producing incrementally, and that had become invisible because the incremental depletion had become the baseline, and the baseline had stopped being experienced as loss and had started being experienced as simply the way things were. The way things are is a choice in the relationship that is organized around your depletion. The discomfort of the ending is finite. The cost of the continuation is not. The third habit is the consumption of other people's assessments of your worth as though they were facts about you rather than information about them. I spent the first 30 years of my life practicing this habit with the thoroughness of someone who had been taught that the external assessment was the reliable measure, and that her own internal assessment was suspect in the way that the assessments of interested parties are always suspect. The teaching was wrong, and the wrongness produced 30 years of organizing my understanding of myself around what other people thought rather than around what I actually was, and the organizing around the external produced a self-understanding that was always contingent on what the most recent assessment had been, and that was therefore never stable and never fully mine. Your worth is not determined by the assessment of the people around you. It was not determined by their assessment before you began consulting it, and it will not be changed by their assessment after you stop. Stop consulting it. The consultation is the habit, and the ending of the consultation is the recovery, and the recovery is available today, regardless of how many years the consultation has been going on. The fourth habit is the treatment of the body as the thing to be managed rather than the thing to be honored. I am 104 years old, and the body I am living in is the body I have had for 104 years. And I want to tell you that the relationship I have maintained with it across that time has been the most consequential relationship of my life, in the specific sense that it has determined the quality of every other relationship and every other experience available to me. Because the body is the instrument through which everything is experienced, and the instrument that is not honored is the instrument that fails to serve the music it is capable of producing. The managing of the body treats it as the vehicle for the life, rather than as the life itself, gives it the minimum required for continued function rather than the genuine attention that genuine health requires, and the minimum accumulates across decades into a body that has been given very little reason to maintain itself with the fullness it is capable of maintaining. Honor the body now, not with the anxious hypervigilance of someone who has made the body into a project, but with the daily and genuine respect of someone who understands that the instrument deserves the care its use requires. The fifth habit is the confusion of being busy with being alive. I have watched busyness function as the primary avoidance strategy of more people than I can count across 104 years of observation, the filling of every available moment with activity and obligation, and the management of tasks and the responding to demands in a way that prevents the specific and uncomfortable quiet in which the genuine questions of a life make themselves heard. The genuine questions are uncomfortable. They are uncomfortable because they ask things that the busyness is specifically designed to prevent you from having to answer. Things about whether the life you are living is the life you actually want, and whether the relationships you are maintaining are the relationships that genuinely serve you, and whether the direction you are moving in is the direction that actually matters to you. The busyness prevents the answering by preventing the asking, and the preventing of the asking does not resolve the questions but only delays them, and the delay is paid for with the years of the life that the busyness is consuming. Stop being busy enough to avoid the questions. Let the questions come. Answer them honestly. The answering is the beginning of the actual life. The sixth habit is the deferral of honesty in the relationships that most deserve it. I mean by this the specific pattern of saying the comfortable version of the true thing rather than the true thing itself in the relationships with the people you most love and who most deserve your actual truth rather than the managed version of it. Because the managed version protects the relationship from the temporary discomfort of the honest thing while preventing the relationship from becoming the genuine thing that the honest thing makes possible. I have maintained this habit in my own relationships, and I want to name that clearly because the honest account of the habits I am describing requires acknowledging my own practice of them rather than presenting myself as the observer of other people's failures. I said the comfortable version to people who deserved the true version, and the comfortable version protected them in the moment and prevented the depth that the true version would have produced, and the prevention cost both of us the relationship that the truth would have built. Say the true thing in the relationship that matters most to you. Say the true thing today. The discomfort it produces is the discomfort of two people who are finally in genuine contact with each other rather than with the managed versions they have been maintaining. And the genuine contact is the thing the relationship was always supposed to be and that the managed version has been preventing. The seventh habit is the one I want to say last because it contains all the others and because the last position is the position of emphasis. And this habit deserves the emphasis, which is the habit of living as though the time is not running out. I am 104 years old, and I want to tell you something that 104 years makes completely and undeniably clear, which is that the time is always running out, and that the running out is not a distant and theoretical fact that applies to the very old, but a present and daily reality that applies to everyone who is alive, and that most people manage not to think about with a thoroughness and a success that I find both understandable and very expensive. The expense is the life. The not thinking about the running out produces the treating of the present moment as though it were the approach rather than the thing, the maintaining of the draining relationships because there will be time to address them later, the deference of the honest thing because the relationship will still be there when the discomfort has passed, the busyness that prevents the genuine questions because the questions will be answerable when there is more time. There is not more time. There is this time, this moment, this day, and the treating of it as though it were the preliminary to the time when the real things will be addressed is the treating of the only thing you have as though it were a placeholder for something better that has not yet arrived. It will not arrive. This is the thing. The better time is this time, received with the full and honest attention of someone who understands that it is the only time available and that the understanding of that is not the cause of despair, but the cause of the specific and genuine urgency that makes the actual life finally possible. I am 104 years old. The 7 habits cost me things I cannot recover and produced in me an understanding I would not trade for the recovery, and the understanding is what I am offering you today with the directness that this age requires and that your time remaining deserves. Stop the postponement. End the draining relationships. Stop consulting the external assessment of your worth. Honor the body. Stop the busyness. Say the true thing and understand fully and daily and without the comfortable avoidance that the habit makes so available that the time is running out. The understanding of the running out is the beginning of the actual living. Begin the actual living now. The time is now. It has always only ever been now.